Just getting young people outside is a great start. A lot of people live in beautiful states. The country has beautiful nature all over the place. No matter where you live, there's something beautiful. So as long as we can get young people outside and just showing them the beauty of it all, and it doesn't have to be an athletic adventure or something hard or physical. It can just be like a little walk around a lake or something, and you're just more in tune with the world.
Welcome to the Teach, Lead, Innovate podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of innovation, leadership, and transformative ideas shaping the future of education and technology. Each episode is a journey into the minds of visionary educators, thinkers, and leaders who are not just talking about change, they're living it. Real people leading real change. This is where passion meets practice and ideas come to life. Welcome to the Teach, Lead, Innovate podcast.
Welcome to Teach, Lead, Innovate, where we explore inspiring stories and innovative ideas in education, leadership, and beyond. Today, we're thrilled to have Ryan Van Duzer join us, a world adventurer, filmmaker, and motivational powerhouse who has dedicated his life to inspiring others to embrace the outdoors and to live with purpose. From his roots in the Peace Corps to countless human-powered expeditions, Ryan's journey is a testament to resilience, curiosity, and the power of learning through experience. Together, we'll dive into his unique perspectives on education, youth environment, and the transformative role of adventure in fostering a lifelong love for learning. Welcome to the Teach, Lead, Innovate podcast, Ryan.
Thank you, Dave. That was an awesome intro. I appreciate it. I feel humbled.
Oh, I am humbled, Ryan, that you are on today's show. Because like I shared with you before, I remember when I was recovering from leg surgery, unable to walk, and your videos literally gave me hope on the days when I wondered if I'd even be able to heal and be active again. So I felt like I was riding along with you, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, hearing that means the world to me because that's what I want to do with my content. I want to reach people in some way and hopefully inspire them, not necessarily people who are, post-op and miserable, but I'm glad it worked in your case. Yeah, because my content is all about just showing people the world, showing people the beauty of the world, the kindness of meeting other strangers, and hopefully inspiring people to get up and give themselves a challenge.
So it's funny you mentioned that. In a recent, you said kindness, and I remember in one of your last videos, just at the start of the new year, you shared that we need to bring more kindness into the new year.
Yeah.
I have to say that resonated with me because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't so nice, and you just watch the news for 5 minutes, and it can seem like a mean place. But if you could deliver a message directly to students or young people about the importance of kindness, what would you say?
I would say leading with love, with kindness, with respect is vital. It's not just like an option that you can sometimes do, like I wake up and I feel like being a nice guy. I think it's something we need to practice every day. It is like a muscle. The more you do it, the more it comes naturally. And I'm not saying to force it, but to just think of like ways that you could be kind to other people, be kind to yourself, be kind to the living creatures and animals and nature all around you, because it's vital. We all live on this planet together. There's billions of us. It can sometimes feel like, we're not very connected because we're always staring at a screen or we're just not interacting with our neighbors very much. But for me, when I reach out to somebody, whether it's like walking out my front door and saying hi to my neighbor, that kind of starts my day off right. Like, all right, I'm feeling good. Let's keep it going. And it feels good to be nice. It feels good to be kind and to give back and to be of service. There's people struggling all over the world and in our own communities that sometimes a smile can change their day.
Absolutely. That's all it takes sometimes is just a smile.
Yeah.
A little random act of kindness goes a long way.
Absolutely.
Completely agree. So, Duzer, I'm curious, how were you as a student when you were in school?
I was a pretty good student. I wasn't like an inherently smart kid. things were hard for me. You go to school and sometimes there's those kids that like don't really try hard or don't seem to try hard and they get A's on all their tests and it just seems unfair. And here I am, like I have to do every single bit of homework. I have to come to class on time and make sure I get all the extra points just to make sure that I can, get a somewhat good grade at the end of the day. Cause I know that all the studying I do in the world isn't necessarily going to give me an A. So I was always a very hard worker. And I was also very involved in school. I was involved in student council. I loved doing community projects at our school and beyond. I worked with Mexican immigrant youth when I was in high school at a local youth center. So I really felt the need to give back at an early age. And I think that's because I came from a family with a single mom and 4 kids, and we didn't have all the resources that a lot of the kids around me had. So I received kindness from other people throughout our lives. Our family did. And so I always said, well, I'm going to give it back in some way, shape, or form. So I was a hardworking student. I was involved with school and student council and stuff. And, my grades weren't amazing, but I did good enough to squeak into college.
Awesome. Awesome. So there's hope there for all you students out there. If you're not working hard enough, like, hey, keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Look what Duzer's done. So you kind of talked a little bit about like overcoming challenges, like you talked about, especially early on in life. And I feel like they are a hallmark of your adventures. I feel like you overcome challenges in almost every single video. And I'm sure there's some you encounter when not on camera.
Yeah.
What strategies or stories could you share with educators about resilience and perseverance?
Well, when I go on these adventures, I'm choosing to do something hard, and
Mhm.
that's a privilege. I
Mhm.
get to go out and put myself in these situations and push myself mentally and physically, knowing it's going to be hard, whether I'm on the starting line of a 100-mile running race or if it's like a 1,000-mile bike ride. I'm choosing it. So that comes from a place of privilege. And what it does is it gives me a little bit of practice for everyday life when I don't choose hardship. Because as we know, as humans, things come our way that we have no control over. And it really depends on how we react to these problems in life. And that really decides how successful we will get through these tough times. So on my adventures, yes, I choose it. I want it in a way. Not that I totally love being in uncomfortable situations at all times. I love the beautiful moments of adventures too that are nice and easy. And I'm sitting on a beach, but I do really value the hard times because it teaches me a lot about myself, about resilience and moving forward. Okay, this is really hard. This is uncomfortable. What am I going to do now to navigate myself through this issue? And that can be translated to everyday life. Maybe you have a really hard breakup or heartbreak, or you apply for a job that you were really hoping to get and you don't get it and you're crushed. How do you rise up from those ashes and keep moving forward, knowing that if you keep things together, if you surround yourself with good people and good support systems, that you will find success.
What I love in that is that the message, like, choose hard so that when, like, choose hard those opportunities, because then when life really does dish it to you, you've trained, you've went through that. That's not a
And I
message.
learned a lot of this in high school and sports. I did cross country and track and wrestling, and it's hard. Like you go out and you're running many, many miles at a certain pace or speed. Like it hurts your body. It's uncomfortable. It would be much easier to go home after school and just watch TV, right? But I find a lot of value in pushing my body, which not only is a physical challenge, but a mental challenge. Like, okay, my body is maxed out. It really is telling me to stop, but my brain is like, you can go a little bit further. You can go a little bit further. And that translates to everyday life.
But what I love about that too, that message, is that, like, I think so often that's not what society tells us these days. It's kind of like what's more convenient, what's easy, go that way. But like, you're giving a prescription for like how to deal with these hard things. Like you can navigate through it if you are changing your mindset and changing those experiences.
Absolutely. You know, we live in a world right now that it's catered to be pretty easy.
Hmm.
You know, you're at home, you have walls and a ceiling, you want some clean water to drink, you just hit the faucet, you have clean water. You want food, it's either in your fridge or you can call up Uber Eats and it comes to your door. I mean, we live in a very comfortable society. You get into a car, it's hot out, you turn on the air conditioning. I mean, it's very rare that you have to be uncomfortable in this day and age. So I think it's really important just to get outside, not that you have to do extremely hard adventures to do this, but even just going for a walk or a run or a bike ride, anything.
So running the Leadville 100 twice is no small feat. What was more challenging, the physical endurance required to do the race or convincing yourself to sign up a second time?
Man, you know, after you do one of these 100-mile races and you go through the pain cave, I call it, where you're just falling apart, and maybe you're at mile 70 and you know that you still have 30 miles to go. That's really like, wow, do I want to sign up and do this again? But I would say, you know, you have to give yourself some time. If you asked me this question right when I crossed the finish line of my first Leadville 100, if I want to do it again, I would say no way. But you know, you give yourself some time, you look back, you have time to reflect on what it was like to go through all that and the beautiful moments. It's not always all hard, you know?
True.
And so when I signed up again, I was like, you know what? I liked the challenge. I learned a lot about myself. I love the community of the runners and how supportive it is. And when it comes down to it, it's a gift to myself. I get to go out and be outside in these beautiful mountains for 20 plus hours. You know, it's a really unique experience. And even though it's hard, I find more value in the good part of it than the hard part of it.
I gotta say, that's what I love about like your message, your channel, like just you is that you always seem to find the positive, the like you're that optimist when sometimes it's hard to be.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, you know, I get a lot of questions. They're like, are you for real? Do you ever have a bad day? Are you, you know, faking this optimism?
Mm.
And I'm really not faking the optimism. I mean, I am a human just like everybody else. I have had very hard days, very hard months, times where I feel hopeless, you know, and I think we can all relate to those feelings. Maybe I'm not good enough. I've lost confidence. Where am I going to go from here? But when I'm on my bike ride, what you see in those videos is you're seeing months of preparation just to get to this bike ride. Maybe it's, you know, in the United States or Sweden or Latin America. And I'm excited to be there. Like I've flown across the world with my bike. This is the payoff for, you know, months of logistical planning to even get there. And so, yes, even when it's hard in Sweden, for example, and there's thousands of mosquitoes stinging me all over the place, I have to take a step back and remember, like, this is pretty cool. Like, this is your job. You're getting paid to do this. And even though it's wet and mosquito-y, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And spending so much time outdoors, you have a unique perspective on its value. What lessons do you think students can learn from nature that they can't get in a traditional classroom setting?
Yeah. I mean, nature, I always tell people, has been my greatest teacher. And that's because nature is unforgiving. You're outside on a nice summer day, and all of a sudden the clouds roll in, and then 5 minutes later, you're in a downpour, you're getting hailed on, and it teaches you how to be prepared. And it teaches you about patience and resilience. Nature can smack you up right upside the head sometimes, and you know you're feeling confident, you got everything dialed in, and then bam, you know it's a storm comes in, or wind, or whatever, or super cold snowstorm. I've gotten caught in those, in, you know, summertime here in Colorado. And then you deal with it and you go through it. And, you know, even though it's uncomfortable, maybe your hands are freezing and your fingertips are numb. Hopefully you have the right gear so you don't get in major trouble. but you get through it. And when you get through it, you build confidence. Every time you get through something hard, you build confidence through so that the next time something comes your way, you're like, okay, you know what? I got this. Like I can do this. And nature also, I think, really shows us how beautiful the world is and how everything can live in harmony with the animals and water and insects and sunsets and rainbows. And you look out and you really appreciate, like, wow, I get to live on this beautiful planet and I get to go play outside. How cool is that?
That's such a powerful message, and it's so true. Like we forget the beauty of and the simplicity sometimes of like what's around us
Yeah.
outside. Wow. So with your emphasis on fitness and health, what do you think educators and educational leaders should do to help inspire the youth of today in that area?
Yeah, I think that's a really important message right now because obviously we live at a time where it's easy just to stare at a phone all day and not go outside and get your endorphin rush from scrolling through whatever social media feed. I mean, even I fall into this, so there's a balance to everything. So I think, just getting young people outside is a great start. A lot of people live in beautiful states. The country has beautiful nature all over the place. No matter where you live, there's something beautiful. So as long as we can get young people outside and just showing them the beauty of it all, and it doesn't have to be an athletic adventure or something hard or physical. It can just be like a little walk around a lake or something, and you're just more in tune with the world and the sounds of the insects and the birds chirping. And I think once you get people out there, hopefully it inspires them to be like, you know what, this is really cool. And I want to come back here on my own time. And, maybe when I grow up, I want to, bring my kids to this same place. You think about like some of your best childhood memories, maybe some of them are learning how to ride a bike, and the feeling of freedom of being outside. You don't learn how to ride a bike inside your house, it's outside. And summertime is my favorite time. When I was a kid, I would leave the house in the morning on my bike and I'd just be outside all day with my buddies, just exploring and just having fun and looking at creepy crawly things. I was way into reptiles when I was a kid and catching snakes and all that stuff. And I think it just teaches you about the wonders of the world, the simplicity of how we're all interconnected. And you come home after that and you can play on your phone a little bit or play some video games, but at least you got to get outside a little bit.
Get out balanced, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So, I kind of on a similar note, I know you're passionate about empowering people and in the same area, right? A lot of educators these days go so all in their work that they forget to take care of themselves. What advice would you give educators in regard to taking charge of their own health, well-being, and personal growth?
Pretty much what I just said. Just get outside. you know? Maybe, I live in Boulder, which is a pretty active town. I know one of my favorite teachers in high school rode his bike to school every day. And just the act of getting on the bike in the morning, no matter if it was cold or hot, you feel alive. You're starting your day off by moving your body and breathing fresh air. You're not in the car. So I think it's important just to like try to get outside as much as possible. Outside, I always tell people that outside is medicine. That is my therapy. If I'm having a tough day, if I'm sitting at my computer editing videos and I'm stuck and I'm like, "Ugh," you get that feeling. Just go outside, Ryan. You're gonna be fine. Just go outside and play. It's kind of like when our parents were like, said, "Get out of the house, go outside." Same kind of thing. It's like, oh, you go outside, you release some energy, you feel good, and you can breathe easier when you come in. And you come in, and you're more, I think, better prepared to teach or to. It's kind of like the idea of going on vacation, right? We go on vacation for a reset. We want to go sit on the beach or do something outside. And then we come home and we're refreshed. And I think you can do that on a micro level as well.
I love how you mentioned about the biking to work every day. Back, I think, starting in 2021, when I was elementary school principal, I kind of like I was wondering, like, I wonder if I should. I really start because I started to get into biking, and I was like, Well, back to work, like it's hard to fit that in. So I started to do that. I would ride every day to work and back. And at first I was like, well, how am I going to change? Like, there's a lot of logistics that go into that. But I think it's important to try to think outside the box and how you're going to get that in, because I could tell you it was like therapeutic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was therapeutic. It could be 15, 20 minutes on the way to work. Like you can process the day before you get there and then debrief it on the way home and be there
absolutely.
present.
I
Yeah.
love to hear this. I love it. You're the
Well,
biking principle. It makes me happy, and it really does make a huge difference.
it does.
And it doesn't have to be biking. Maybe you live fairly close and you can walk to school, or maybe it's not the commute. Maybe after school you go out, you just find like 30 minutes just to
Mhm.
be outside. Maybe you take your shoes off and walk barefoot in the grass. It helps you to feel more connected to the world beneath you. It sounds a little hippie, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you've biked so many places, from Cuba to the Great Divide. Can you share a humorous or enlightening encounter that highlights the universal language of cycling?
The universal language of cycling. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I've had so many. I'll pick the one off the top of my head. I was riding a cruiser bike across the United States in 2009. It was
Mhm.
a 3-speed cruiser bike, not meant for long distance touring. And the goal was to show people that you don't have to have the most expensive gear to do something big. And I still truly believe in this. And I was about 2,500 miles into my cross country voyage in the state of West Virginia. And I was going up a mountain. And I'm just struggling because I not only have my bike, but I have a trailer pulling all my camping gear and food and stuff. So it's pretty heavy. I'm struggling up this mountain, and a gentleman drives right beside me in a red pickup truck, and he yells out the window, "Hey, man, where are you going?" And I told him I was going to Washington, D.C. And he's like, "No way, man. Well, where are you going to stay tonight?" And I said, "I don't know." And so, long story short, he said, "Come follow me." He got his truck and led me down this dirt road to this humble little house. And he got out of his truck and he said, "Hey, man, my name's Danny." He's like, "I know what it's like to travel and be on the road. And I can make you dinner tonight. You can camp in the backyard." And it was one of these moments where I just felt immediately safe with this total stranger, and a connection. A lot of what I do these rides for is to connect with other humans and
Huh.
see what the world's all about. And I stayed the night with this guy, and I'm still in touch with him to this day. He was just a simple West Virginia coal miner. He had been since he was 19. At this point, he was about 55 years old. And it's what I call trail magic, where you're on the road on a bike tour and you don't really know what's going to happen. You wake up in the morning and you look at your map and you're like, okay, I want to go from here to here. But between this point, I have no idea what's going to happen or what I'm going to eat or anything. And so it was just a magical moment where this guy was there at the right time and I got to meet him, and it was just humanity, the best of humanity. And that has happened over and over and over on all of my rides. And again, it doesn't have to be a gigantic expedition to have these trail magic moments. If you get out of your house, if you go outside, if you're hiking or whatever, I guarantee you will meet these people along your travels of life. And I know we've all met friends in magical ways, and it makes the world feel friendlier, kinder, and smaller.
And couldn't we all use a world like that?
Yes, absolutely.
So, Duzer, I got two more questions for you.
Okay.
Your Peace Corps experience undoubtedly exposed you to different ways of life.
Yeah.
How do you think we could use global travel or cultural exchanges to enrich education for today's youth?
I'm a big believer in traveling globally. I know that I'm very privileged to say that because not everybody can go far away from home. But if you can, it can be a wonderful teacher on how the world works. I grew up in Boulder. I never really traveled. Remember, single mom, 4 kids. We didn't have money for that kind of stuff. I got some scholarships early on to travel. And those travels opened my eyes to the world, to different cultures and languages, foods, everything. And so it just gave me perspective outside of this little town that I grew up in. And I know that all of us can benefit from these moments of travel because it's exciting, it's fun, it's scary. I'm leaving the comforts of home to go somewhere far away. I don't know the language. How am I going to talk to people? It can be overwhelming, it can be scary. But once you take that leap, that step, and you meet that first friend in another country, or you have a magical moment, let's say at a restaurant, and you're trying some new foods and it just feels exciting and fun. It just makes the world feel smaller and kinder. And it's infinitely valuable. And since I had the privilege of traveling at a young age, I decided to myself, I want to keep on doing this. I want to find a way to be able to do this for the rest of my life. And so that's, in a crazy way, how I built this career. I use my bicycle as a tool to connect with people and cultures in other countries.
So you could do it with just a bicycle. Look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was in the Peace Corps. You probably know this.
Yeah.
When I finished my service, I rode my bike from Honduras all the way through Central America, Mexico, all the way back up to Boulder, Colorado, where I live. And along the way, I met wonderful people the entire time who invited me into their homes and fed me meals. And I got to camp in their backyards. And, I was in some tiny Mexican villages who had never seen a white guy before, only in movies. I wasn't in the touristy parts of Mexico at all. And so they were excited to meet me. I was excited to meet them. And I still have these very rich memories in my mind of these beautiful interactions. And I truly believe that 99.99% of humans are good-hearted, kind-hearted people.
Yes.
And all you have to do is give yourself the opportunity to meet them. And it also, this is really big. I think if more people traveled, we'd probably have a lot of prejudice against a lot less prejudice.
Yeah.
Because right now we can see this in movies or whatever news, which can sometimes be sensationalized. Mexico is so dangerous. It's blah, blah, blah. And so we're like, oh, I'll never go to Mexico. It's dangerous. But once you put yourself in that position, you realize, no, there's a lot of good people on this planet.
Yeah, you make those connections. You have those relationships, and it breaks down those barriers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this is the toughest question. The toughest question.
Okay, here we go.
Why should we all eat more bean burritos?
Yes. Well, man, that's the best question. Well, I'm a vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 20 plus years. So I'm a big believer in beans as a good source of fiber, and they taste really good, and protein. And if you're eating a bean burrito, you have a smile on your face. It's not like one of those meals when you're a kid and you're like, Mom, I don't want Brussels sprouts. If Mom is making bean burritos, you're psyched. You're like, oh, awesome. It's going to be a good dinner. When you go to like Mexican restaurants, they're jolly and happy and fun, and there's all this bouncy music and colorful stuff on the walls. You walk into a Mexican restaurant and you order burritos, it's a good night, right?
Good night. There you have it. You got to eat those bean burritos.
And they're good power. All of my adventures are powered by frijoles, man.
That's it. Well, Duzer, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show and having this conversation. It really was an honor, man.
Oh, it's been so fun. I hope to meet you in real life someday.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Until next time, stay inspired, stay positive, and have the best day ever.
That's right.